Hello, welcome. I'm just waiting for another 100 people to come and join us to listen to these innovations in climate tech. So just bear with us for a while. Or maybe we should just crack on, sorry. My name is Jonathan Ashton. I'm the head of corporate affairs and marketing at Krona. We make measurement technology solutions across all industries. So that's why I'm here. But really I'd like to open up now just to our panelists, just to give a quick introduction as to why they're here talking about climate technology. If we can start with Sandra, actually, because the thing that these four lovely stellar champions of sustainability have in common is that they're all from the American Chambers of Commerce, Dubai, and Sandra is co-chair of the Sustainability Committee, so maybe you can shed a bit more context on the brilliance behind this committee.
Sure, thanks a lot, Jonathan, and thanks to the World Green Economy Organization for having us here today. So as Jonathan mentioned, I'm here actually wearing two hats. One is my day job at GE Vernova, and the second is as the co-chair of the ESG and Sustainability Committee at AmCham Dubai with my amazing co-chair who's not here. She's actually on a panel in the other room, Miki Hirasawa Ashton of 3M. Before I talk about GE Vernova, I did want to say a few words on the AmCham Sustainability Committee. Over the past few years, there's been a realization that you can't really talk about climate change without talking about collaboration, without talking about cross-sector engagement and collaboration and partnerships. And with that in mind, the amazing team at AmCham Dubai, led by Kara Nazari and her team, Helena and others, created this ESG and Sustainability Committee in the lead up to COP28. And what started as less than or around 13 or so members has now in less than 2 years grown to over 30 organizations, which really shows the focus that the private sector in the UAE has on sustainability. So it's a group that not only focuses on thought leadership, it talks about showcasing innovation and breakthrough technology, it talks about best practice sharing, and great partnerships we have, like with the UN Global Compact team, as well as the US Embassy and US Consulate. So anyone who's interested to find out more, please let us know after, and we can talk. Just a couple of minutes on GE Vernova as well.
Why not?
Why not? So the company, GE Vernova, is a purpose-built company that focuses on anything across the energy value chain. We operate in a variety of sectors, including traditional power generation, which includes gas, nuclear, hydro, and steam. We talk about the second sector is renewables, onshore wind, offshore wind, and other forms of renewables. And finally, the third element is electrification, which is grid and software and digital technologies. Across the world, GE Vernova technology supports over 25% of the world's electricity. And over 30% of global utilities utilize our technology. Why am I highlighting all of this? Is because as we operate in over 100 countries, we're really uniquely positioned to support countries, governments, stakeholders, partners around the world as they look at deploying breakthrough innovations, breakthrough climate technology, as they look at new policies that support decarbonization and others. And I'm really looking forward to the conversation today, both as an AmCham rep as well as GE Vernova.
Thanks, Sandra. That's brilliant. Raya, could you step up to the plate now and share your expertise, please?
Yeah, thank you so much, Jonathan. And echoing Sandra, it's definitely a pleasure always to be at the AmCham platform and the World Green Economy Organization, and to share the stage with the distinguished and experts in the field. So I'm Raya, leading sustainability in the Middle East and Africa region for 3M company. Now 3M is a science-based company. It's a multinational that looks after innovation and manufacturing. We work with in 3 different business groups within the safety industrial. We work in electronics and automotive, as well as consumer. So I believe you may all know 3M from our post-it notes. Now we always say you're never more than 3 feet away of a 3M product. So we are that close to you. If not through our post-it notes and you're going sustainable through your smartphones. So you will see 20% of your smartphone is a 3M technology. So we are that close to you. And now with the climate technology and talking about driving solutions for the climate change, I'm so happy also to discuss it today along with the team. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thanks, Raya. Rohan. Sorry, Ahmed. You'll be last, but certainly not least.
Thank you so much, and glad to be a part of the panel. It gives us we all know each other from before, so it just gives us a chance to be nice to each other on an official platform. But yeah, I represent a company called Johnson Controls, not to be confused with Johnson & Johnson, because I get that a lot. We are unfortunately not as visible as 3M is, because we work behind the doors, and whatever keeps you comfortable inside a building, I think 80% of it would be coming from Johnson Controls. So we are close to a 140-year-old organization with 100,000 global employees working in 150 plus countries. We primarily look at ourselves as a provider of healthy, smart, and sustainable building infrastructure. We play in a very specific domain, which is the built environment, which is buildings. But within the built environment, there are varied solutions and varied systems that we cater to when it comes to fire, security, air conditioning, ventilation, heating. And what makes us interesting to be a part of this sustainability journey is that a lot of our portfolio adds to the emissions of our consumers or of our customers. So whatever keeps you comfortable here is consuming energy in some form or the other. So we have a dual responsibility to make our own portfolio as green as possible and try to help our customers in optimizing their carbon emissions as well. So glad to be a part of this conversation today.
Thanks, Rohan. That's brilliant. Ahmed, have you been preparing your... No one's heard of Microsoft, so if you could just give us a bit more...
So I don't need to spend too much time. No, hello everyone. Pleasure being here with you, and thank you all for coming, and thanks for the invitation to be on this interesting panel. So yeah, Ahmed Amin, I work with Microsoft based out of UAE, and I'm in charge of our sustainability commercial solutions across Middle East and Africa. I'm sure everyone knows Microsoft, but just a quick background. Microsoft is a company that started with our founder, Bill Gates, with a vision of having a PC on every desk. Now we have a PC in every pocket now. So it's a company that really started with one vision, but it's been an interesting journey because it's a company that transformed itself multiple times. And the most recent one is when we had our new CEO, Satya Nadella, who moved the company completely into a cloud company. And then most recently is with our big bet on artificial intelligence. So we're moving towards artificial intelligence as the main really solution that we're focused on. And we believe that it's going to have a major impact on many industries, including, of course, the climate change. Now, in terms of sustainability in specific, we have also more than a decade of sustainability experience, because as a company, we believe fundamentally that a company needs to be responsible to be really successful in the future, to know what kind of resources they're using and so on. So we started a journey more than 10 years ago, and we said, let's look into the carbon reduction, let's look on how our footprint is and so on. And then slowly we learned this, and we said, let's put some bold commitment. Just to give you an idea, our operations, which includes our data centers, our facilities, our manufacturing, represents 0.05% of the carbon emission of the planet. Not that significant, but it's still a number. And we made a commitment that by 2030, we would be carbon negative, water positive, and a zero waste company. And that's something to be able to achieve, you need to really closely monitor on not maybe annual basis, but on weekly basis. You need to have access to insights and data and so on. And the biggest thing we really learned when we did this commitment and we tried to follow through with it is that the biggest challenge with the climate change and the sustainability in general is about data. It's about how can you get access to real insights, because every decision you're making, you're not really sure, is this decision really is the right one? Is this going to have the right impact? Is electrifying my fleet really the right thing to do, or should I just focus on renewable energy? So having the right insights is very critical. And the moment you have that right insights, you add to that the artificial intelligence, you really unlock another potential. I mean, we've all seen how the climate is. I don't think 5 years ago we would have what we're having now. Every week you open and you're seeing natural disasters and rainfalls. I mean, living in Dubai, I mean, we've never had a natural disaster, and 1 year ago we had a real natural disaster with big chaos here. So it's definitely seeming that no matter what we're doing, we're still not on the right track, and we need something to really accelerate our innovation and our focus on how can we really deal with this climate change. And I think the topic today in this panel is about the climate tech. And I think the main goal of climate tech is finding new solutions and innovation to help us with the climate change challenge, as well as how can we move quickly into renewable energies and use less carbon. I hope that was not a very big introduction, but at least I segued into the main topic.
That's amazing. You've actually covered all my questions. But we are here, as you said, to talk about, advancing climate tech. So I wouldn't mind, maybe we'll just start with you, Raya, if you don't mind, and move along the row. What does climate tech mean to you and your company, and how does that sort of feed into your achieving the sustainable goals that you're trying to achieve as we move along? What's 3M doing in that respect?
Yeah, thank you, Jonathan. So maybe just to start that, people might think that climate tech is just something recent that we are talking about, but it all started with clean tech. The moment you heard about the wind and solar power. So there are all those initiatives, if I would say, for the climate change. Now, the core technologies of the clean tech has been leveraged to mitigate and adapt with the climate change and to find solutions in decarbonization and in energy transition and carbon emissions. So they have made it specific as climate tech. Then later on we will hear about carbon tech, but maybe we can talk about it in other sessions as well. So the climate technology is indeed a progress, if I would say, a step for the clean tech to help the decarbonization. Now, when you look at 3M, as I've mentioned, as a science company, and the company that is very strong in research and development in the sense that we own 49 technology platforms. A lot of them are also contribute to the climate technology. We invest in R&D where our investments have gone to $1.8 billion last year, and also a lot of contribution has gone to climate technology, again, because we drive by purpose and we lead by purpose. So if we want to go deeper, what do we do? In climate technology, you will see us in carbon capture as well as in green hydrogen, or in, let's take the big picture, clean hydrogen, whether it is green or blue. So within carbon capture, and back to Sandra's point, for the power of collaboration, we are partnering with a company called Svante to deliver a solution for the direct air capture that will help some industries to decarbonize. Now, why I'm saying some? Because other industries, carbon capture might not help or might not work, like steel industry. So you need another solution to decarbonize. Here comes the clean hydrogen. Again, whether the green or the blue depends on the production source, whether from renewable energy or whether from natural gas. So here where 3M works on providing, if I would say, a full solution to drive for the climate change. Now, if you will look at the businesses, investments, it's very important that when we talk about climate tech, and very critical when we talk about these technologies, that they should be effective, efficient, and safe. So this is briefly what we do.
Just briefly, okay, that's good. That's good. Rohan, what does climate tech mean to Johnson Controls?
And all of us on the stage are technology providers, so I'll probably speak on all of our behalfs. I think all of us have been working on technology and using sustainability before it became cool to use sustainability. Mm-hmm. All our technological advancements everything has been going on for the last 15, 20 years on this specific topic to advance decarbonization, sustainability, and so on and so forth. It's just that the climate tech subject has become more prevalent now. Like Raya said, for example, for us, last 2023, we spent 90% of our R&D budget on developing new sustainable products. Because like I said, especially for a company like Johnson Controls, our products, our scope 3 is a scope 2 for most of our consumers, for most of our customers. So our R&D has to be focused on developing more sustainable, more efficient green technology. Not just from a hardware equipment perspective. I mean, Ahmed and we were speaking earlier. Being a hard equipment provider, we saw it very early that we need to move towards the software side of things. Try to make our solutions as digital as possible, because at the end of the day, it's the data that matters.
Yeah.
It's the operations of, specifically to our equipment, or operations of anything. I mean, that's you have to look at life cycle carbon when you're talking about sustainability, when you're talking about decarbonization. So we have been working diligently towards developing, innovating technology, and I have some examples which I'll share going forward. But I think it's fair to say on all our behalves that we have been doing it for many years now.
I think, sorry, just to jump in, I used to work with Dell Computers back in London, and they used to talk about, they called it Simplify IT, and it was basically just a green business opportunity to get people to buy new technology because it was more energy efficient and you could optimize and do work faster. I just see it as an evolution of that, really. So to your point, Sandra, please.
So I agree with everything that's been said, and it resonates with a lot of what we're doing at GE Vernova. But to take a step back, the way we define climate tech as well as a company, Ahmed mentioned about the increase in natural disasters, about the urgency of climate change, et cetera. And that's at the core of all of this. But in parallel, there's around 750 million people around the world that still lack access to clean, reliable energy. In the next 20 years, electricity demand is going to grow by over 50%. So when we look at climate tech, we look at it through this lens, and it's our mission as a company. So as we work to electrify the world, we're simultaneously working to decarbonize it. Just to not repeat a lot on the green hydrogen and carbon capture, earlier this year as a company we launched our first sustainability framework. And again, this is at the core of how we're defining climate tech and the deployment of climate tech. That framework has 4 pillars. The first 2 I just touched on. One is electrify, which is providing access to clean, reliable electricity to countries around the world. The second is decarbonize, and this is exactly what Raya and Rohan have been talking about, using wind, solar, nuclear, which is a low carbon fuel, SMR technology. But in addition, decarbonizing our own fleet and our scope 3 emissions, which is through our partners and others. So that's decarbonize. But the other 2 pillars, one is conserve. And conserve is being the best stewards of the Earth's natural resources. How can we work with our partners? How can we provide our own circularity programs, et cetera, to really be those stewards of the natural resources and to maximize that benefit? And the last is thrive, which is at the core of it all. It's our communities, our people, our suppliers, our partners. And why am I telling you about the sustainability framework? It's because you can't talk about the deployment of climate tech or how you define climate tech without talking about these 4 pillars when you're looking at GE Vernova. It's really how we're defining climate tech and in our operations and our strategy as a company going forward.
Amazing. Thank you for that. Ahmed, you will not always be the last to respond, by the way, but you just sort of
keep it with me then.
Wrap things up. I mean, climate tech definition from a Microsoft perspective.
So yeah, I think I mentioned, I mean, it's mainly the focus on new technologies and innovation that will help us mitigate the existing climate change challenge, but as well is going to help us accelerate the transition to renewable energy. So these are the 2 main areas. Maybe what I'll speak more about is how Microsoft is really tackling this and how are we divided into. So I mentioned before about our own emissions and how we're tackling that, and we're committed that by 2030 we would be carbon negative, water positive, and a zero waste company. And that's a huge load. I mean, that's something that is across the whole company. There's no one team doing that. It's embedded in every single team and department. Everything that we're doing, from procurement to data center to development to engineering to manufacturing hardware, it has a sustainability component within. We even have internally a carbon credit system. So each department is measured based on how much carbon they're producing, and then they would actually fund an internal activity to this. So that's one aspect, which is our own emissions. But then when we decided that, so our emission is 0.05, we're going to fix our emissions by 2030. But that doesn't fix the planet. I mean, what about the rest 99.9%? And that's when we embarked on a journey of developing solutions that helps organizations report, record, and reduce their emissions. As I said, we built on our own experience on where are the challenges, and we said that data is the main challenge. Let's help organizations understand their existing baseline, and I think this is where it really married very well with our partners like GE, like Johnson Control, is that they have the hardware aspect, but we need the software to really crunch this data and be able to present it in a way that is insightful to decision makers, enabling them the ability to actually take decisions. And then when I said adding the artificial intelligence to this adds a massive value, because then you can really quickly ask the system, where should I focus? I mean, where should I have the biggest impact in reduction? Where are anomalies in the data that I have? So I can quickly understand that there is an issue in specific hardwares and specific infrastructure that needs to be fixed because of that, the reason of the emission. So that was the second part, and that's the area that I'm really focused on, which is helping our partners and our customers on their own sustainability journey, leveraging the Microsoft solutions. The third one is really about how can we incubate also innovation. I mean, innovation is not going to come from Microsoft alone. So we announced what we call the Climate Innovation Fund, and that's a program that online that any organizations, any startups that are having new ideas to help in the reduction, they can actually apply and they can get funding to help them with their process. And that's how we can really gather more insights and more data from other areas across the globe. So these are the three main areas of how we're organized as a company on the climate act.
That's amazing. Sorry, I'm not putting Krona forward for this, but the last thing that you mentioned about the incubator, is it startups and techpreneurs?
Yeah,
so
yeah, exactly.
So we wouldn't
mic now is working.
A bit too big for that then. Okay, never mind. I know we've touched upon a few things there, but I wondered if there was any one kind of more future-focused innovation that you'd like to dig into a little bit more and make the audience dream a little bit about what you're working on behind the scenes. Is there anything you could share with us? Whoever's most excited, please speak first.
I feel Sandra's excited.
No, there's so much that we do. We invest $1 billion in R&D annually at GE Vernova in areas, I'm not going to repeat, the hydrogen, like ensuring our fleet is 100% hydrogen capable, our gas turbine fleet, carbon capture. But the one I wanted to talk about was we were working at our global research centers on an air-to-water technology, which is literally creating water out of the air. We found a company in the US called Montana Technologies that was also working and had advanced on such a technology. They had a machine, which I believe was here at COP28 as well. And our teams got together, worked together, realized that what we were doing and what they were doing was really complemented one another. And earlier this year, we signed a JV with them. We launched a new company that is looking to scale this AirJoule technology, which is ultimately air to water. And watching it is fascinating. You literally see water being created out of air, and a lot of water. And if you look
is it at scale? Because I saw one at Expo as well.
That's it.
Maybe
that
in
was
the
the
Czech
one.
pavilion, though. I don't know if it was
Sorry?
Maybe it was in the Czech pavilion, and
I
it
don't
didn't
remember.
seem very extreme water. It was very, but
this one creates a lot of water. I don't have the numbers, but it just shows you that when you look at what corporations are doing at the size and scale at GE Vernova, we can't do it alone.
Yep.
And so we found a small entrepreneur startup that was working on something that really helped us develop this air-to-water technology, or helped us scale their air-to-water technology, and we created this collaboration that we're very excited about.
Amazing. Can anyone top that? Ah, Rohan. You're a brave man. You're a brave man.
It will never be as jazzy and as glamorous as air to water, but because our technology is, like I said, behind the scenes to keep people comfortable, safe, and secure. But a common word that has been used here is electrification. We have heard about electrification in terms of generation, in terms of transportation. There's another aspect of electrification which most people don't realize, and especially big in the industrial sector, is that even though a building, a facility would have 100% solar to serve their electrical needs, there is still a lot of fossil fuel being used, especially in the industrial sector. Forget industrial. Think about Dubai. When you go to a hotel, you still need hot water to have a good shower.
Mm-hmm.
That hot water is still being generated through boilers which use gas, diesel, whatever fuel you want to call it. And that is one aspect which is, because it is a boiler room discussion, it doesn't come to the fore too often. But there's a big component of electrification that JCI is working on, which electrifies the hot water generation itself. And think about it from a hotel perspective, but think about it from a big industrial perspective where there are millions and millions of gallons of fuel being used to generate steam, to generate hot water. And that's a big component. And fossil fuel is very gas intensive.
Yeah.
And if you electrify that component, you end up covering the entire value chain from generation using renewables and taking care of fossil fuels in your production areas or so on and so forth. So we are doing a lot of innovation in that technology. It's called heat pumps, which converts boilers to an electrical machine. And the beauty about these machines is that it has the capability to produce simultaneous cooling and heating. So an equipment that takes 1 unit of energy can generate 8 units of energy to take care of heating and cooling. I'm going a little technical here, but like I said, it won't be as jazzy as air to water or water to air. But it is a real world problem that is out there where fossil fuels need to be, we need to eliminate them as much as possible. And that's a big technology that we have been working on with the US Department of Energy as well. In fact, we got special grants to increase our production for heat pumps because of the demand in the market, especially after the recent wars, to reduce the dependency on oil as well. So that's a big area that we are investing in and coming up.
That's incredible. That's really good. As you say, maybe not as anyway, but it's still incredibly useful. Yes, yes, but we need to behave. Raya, Ahmed, anything to add to that?
Living in Dubai, the idea of from air to water is fantastic, because they can actually help us with the humidity issue also.
I talked to my friends back in Europe about many things, and they do think we're living in the future here. So I don't think any of this sounds far-fetched.
No. And honestly, many times I would be like sitting during the summer, and then the irrigation system starts in the garden, and I'm like, why do I even need to use this? The air is like full of water already. Exactly. So it's definitely something for this region in specific, to be taken very seriously.
Yeah.
Now, again, from my side, I think Microsoft is very clear in terms of where are we betting. We just invested 10 billion in OpenAI. And we started introducing Copilot in all our products. But we believe that AI is not going to just help with the productivity and what we're doing today with ChatGPT and so on, but there will be a major impact also on the climate, because there's many issues that we're not able to solve. Take nuclear energy, for example. How can we have smaller nuclear energy that are safer, that can be used across many regions, so that we can have energy that is much cheaper, much cleaner, and so on. So the involvement of artificial intelligence is going to give us access to completely new type of information that will really change. And we've seen, how in a couple of years, ChatGPT is changing already the way we operate every day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, amazing. Raya, you're holding off? Oh, okay, great. We have a 3M innovation.
No, you know why? Because you made me feel that carbon capture and clean hydrogen is something simple. Just
Well, we talk about it all the time. So I'm kidding.
no,
I'm kidding.
again, as an innovative company, definitely there's something is being worked on, and it will be released at the time it should be.
Amazing.
You see the suspense?
Okay, very good. Moving on. Okay, guys, sorry, if I read my typewritten. Challenges and barriers. What are the primary challenges your organization faces in advancing these climate tech solutions? And how are you working to overcome these barriers? I'm a comms guy, and I know that greenwashing is a big problem. I don't want to taint anyone's answers there, but what specific challenges do you think, maybe even common to all four of you, but specifically, Ahmed, you picked up the microphone.
I mean, I can start. I mean, there's multiple challenges, of course, but I think having clear regulations in countries helps a lot. And I think towards the session that we had previously, I was mentioning like how can we help countries have more clear regulation, because any country that's committing on that X reduction, how are you committing? How are you measuring that? How are you checking that that's actually attainable? How can you change the challenges? And that's from our own experience. I mean, we did the commitment, and I don't want to bite myself, but all of a sudden we started investing in AI, and then everything spiked in terms of energy, in terms of water, and then it became like, oh wow, now this is a much bigger challenge. So in terms of technology, we're talking about people like NVIDIA, the semiconductors. How can we produce hardware that uses less energy but gives us the same performance or more? So the innovation in the hardware is very critical also to keep us moving. But yeah, I think regulation will help us also get more transparency across the public sector and the private sector.
You talk about regulation. I suppose standards is that kind of thing as well. Rohan, please.
Yeah, I'll just add to what Ahmed said. And last year, JCI got a survey done by Forrester Consulting, which had about 3,500 respondents across 20 odd countries across various sectors. And some of the challenges that were voiced out were similar to what we are facing internally as well. And I've seen that with our customers that we interact with as well. Namely, a lot of siloed approaches are going on within organizations. So you would have a corporate team who wants to lead sustainability, but especially for big multinationals, because we are spread out vastly across the globe, the regional and the local stakeholders are probably not bought into that overall commitment of sustainability through the corporate team. So that siloed approach has been seen and felt and was responded as one of the biggest challenges by through the survey that we did. Another thing was data, the lack of data, the lack of, okay, we want to be net zero by 2040, but what is our starting point? What is the baseline? And because there are multiple aspects to an organization, it's so hard to account for everything to have a waterproof baseline or to have a waterproof way of measuring whether you are close to your net zero targets or you're reaching there. So I think these were a couple of big components that I've seen across that we were facing, and that's why we are using our digital software and we're working with Microsoft in a big way as well to overcome that data layer to help us achieve our net zero targets.
Yeah, if you don't measure it, you can't improve. That's been obvious for a while, yeah. Raya.
Just to add here, and here I will also put my R&D hat. Now, talking about technologies, also maybe the team here will agree with me, the technology itself, since it is transformational, there are a lot of challenges. You talk about scalability, reliability, feasibility of the technology and the performance, and all companies will be waiting till they implement, even if they have gone through different trials, prototypes. The moment they send it to the market and the moment they measure it, as you have said, and measuring whether the impact, the success, then you can say that I have a technology that I can provide to the market. Now, to the greenwashing point, which is definitely great, and I believe many have gone through this when we introduced carbon capture. Maybe the market or the people need to know that the journey, the road to net zero goes through decarbonizing. And if you don't allow us to innovate and to let out certain technologies to help with the decarbonize, that shouldn't be maybe blamed for the company for being greenwashing. This is a technology, this is based on science, and this is the way forward to your net zero and to your future, if I can put it that way.
I think as long as it's science-based, you've got the evidence there, it can't be classed as greenwashing anyway. But the reputation side of that is a problem, because if a company is holding back, if they're doing good stuff in the sustainability space, but they're not talking about it because they're worried about maybe the media or external stakeholders jumping on that and causing issues, I think that's a problem. Because people, what I like about this kind of new green order that we exist in right now is a lot more transparency. I think, and I don't mean to use all the buzzwords, but a lot of collaboration as well. And people are keen to share these cases and learn from each other, hopefully. And as Rohan, you said, you're working with Ahmed on this because you know you need to do it together. You can't do it on your own. So yeah. No one's really touched on. Maybe you're about to actually, Sandra, I don't know. Maybe not. But no one's really touched on is there a skills gap? Are these new roles that are needed? Is it, I mean, you're all coming from global entities. Maybe there isn't a problem in the Middle East. Maybe that's something that's affecting the companies further afield. Do you have any thoughts on that? Or am I just throwing in something there that no one's really got on their radar?
It's definitely on the radar in the sense that it's something we're investing in as a company. Not the gap, but ensuring that globally there is a focus on training the local workforce, focusing on STEM in universities.
Yeah.
Bringing in the right talent to the company to support our engineering, our R&D development, our innovations. But I'd lost my train of thought. I had a point I wanted to make. I'll come back to it. Sorry.
Oh.
What was I going to say?
STEM education. Oh, anyway. Never mind.
I mean, I can pick it up. But, no, I think, I mean, to Sandra's point, the green skills, it's clear that there is a gap, and it's a gap that we need to address. And in the session just before this, they were mentioning about curriculum, about green skills. I mean, before sustainability, I used to cover the education sector. So I think it's from two angles. It's very critical, including environmental education in the formal curriculum. Because that has two impacts. Number one, it would fix the green skills gap, but number two is you're raising a more environmental conscious people. Like carbon accounting is something that we never learn in school. Why not? Why not understand how carbon is being accounted so that you understand every action you're doing, what's the impact of it? So it raises more responsible also youth, but also with new skills. So hopefully I helped Sandra.
Sandra's back in the room.
I got it. Thank you. It's less about skills gap, but it's more about attracting a younger audience and attracting youth into the energy sector. Microsoft, I don't think, has a lot of problems with that. Tech companies in general are very attractive. But how do we bring that talent into the energy sector? And we had an event earlier this year where we brought a young climate champion to an event we were hosting. And he said something that was really impactful. And he said, in the past, companies in the energy sector have made climate sound all doom and gloom, and that we've already failed and that there is no opportunity to make a change. He said, why would we want to join that? We feel like we're inheriting a problem that we can no longer solve. Yeah. And he said, if you are all looking at bringing in youth, attracting youth into the sector, you have to make it look like an opportunity. Yes, it is an urgent issue, but make it seem like there's something we can do. Talk about the new climate innovations, talk about the exciting things that you're doing, talk about the impact that you can have, and you will attract a younger audience that you can then look at training and upskilling, etc. So the reason I wanted to highlight that, I know it's not really talking about the skills gap, but I thought it was really kind of an important point, especially as we're looking at attracting a younger audience, as we're looking at attracting fresh graduates, really the future of of our company and of the multinational,
But,
and I think that was really interesting.
But I think that multi-generational approach is really important because it's bigger than us. You know, what, and I don't mean to blame my parents, I blame them for many things, but you know, what they did is now impacting us, which will impact the next generation. So the more youngsters we can get on board, and I think they're all further ahead of us anyway in terms of, I don't have any children, but the kids that I speak to, they're very sustainable in the way that they think. Very different approach, a lot less capitalistic in their approach, I think. So, yeah, very good, very nice. Okay, so moving on, shall we look at engaging stakeholders? How do we bring them in? Obviously, we're sat here now to a very engaged room who are going to ask many difficult questions once the camera is switched off, I hope, but that's fine. But, you know, how do you bring in all the people that are needed for that solution? You know, not just your colleagues, your employees, your business association. What are you doing? What tactics do you have to really bring in more people to fight the good fight? Raya, you... No? Sorry, I'm jumping on you there because you seem to be ready to go.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, this is very, very important. Again, as you've said, as companies, we work honestly for our customers. Now, of course, engaging communities, employees, but the end result and the purpose we work for is to improve lives. If I would say about 3M and, of course, about everyone, and what is better than improving lives? You can improve it on different levels. Now, working through our customers, we have something very brilliant that I love at 3M. It's called the customer-inspired innovation. Okay. So we don't only have customers approaching us for any solution, we work closely with them to understand their challenges, then their pain points, even their processes, the way they work. Sometimes there are desired needs that they might share with us, and sometimes they don't know what they want. And this comes to our area of expertise, if I would say, from our engineers, when they dig deeper to the unarticulated needs of the customer. So we create solutions to help them solve the problems they have. That's why these solutions are inspired by our connections of the customer. Now, bringing it maybe to the climate tech, it helps them reduce their greenhouse gas emissions. It helps them also in all in their carbon footprint. Other solutions that has also to do with people. How to improve the lives of their people, whether from the air quality. When we talk, for example, about certain respirators that will help them breathe better as they work on the industrial side. So it not necessarily always has to do with the climate as much as we also want to remember the human side. Yeah. How we want to keep people safe, how we want to keep people healthy. So also you need solutions. You need science companies to be responsible for ensuring that people are safe. And this is how we work with our customers. You see us with our employees also, back to Sandra's point, here where you need the upskilling and reskilling part. You want always to keep them up to date with how they need to approach the customer, how they need to really understand how things work. Then bringing it back to our laboratories with our R&D capabilities to help solve certain problems. You want to ask something?
No, I was just thinking, I mean, we're sat here at the World Green Economy Summit, and I think what you've just said there, that customer-inspired innovation, you've kind of nailed it. It's that green business opportunity, all part of the purpose, but it's solving a problem, and you're doing it together. It's great. So that, you know,
and the beauty that it is based on our values. Now, when you have corporate values, I don't think you need something any better. Just to have a company working with values and principles, and what's best also for an employee, where the personal values meet the corporate ones.
Amazing. Yeah. Amazing. Thank you. Anyone else got any thoughts on engaging stakeholders over there? Are there any stakeholders over there that want to be engaged in the audience? No, there's nobody. There's more than 5. That's good, guys. We're not outnumbered. Oh, okay, sorry. It's just holograms. It's some AI setup. Very good. What about policy influence? We talk about engaging stakeholders. One specific demographic there would be obviously government. We talked a little bit about regulation before. Is there anything, Sandra? I know that's very much in your job title, I guess. Could you shed a bit of light maybe about what GE Vernova does in that area?
It's less. I think I talk a little bit less about what GE Vernova does, or I can touch on that, but it's more about the importance of government partnership, government regulation, etc. And I think you can look at it from 3 different avenues. The first is when you have, for example, look at the UAE. It's a government that's set, it was the first in the region to set a net zero by 2050 goal. I know that's not necessarily a policy or a regulation, but why is that important? It's important because it enables the state-owned entities, the private sector, to really deploy the right technology to help the government in achieving its net zero by 2050 strategy. For example, ENEC has revolutionized the nuclear energy industry in the country, and now they're looking at bringing in breakthrough technologies.
Yeah.
Such as SMR technologies. ADNOC has made a commitment to have 100% of its power generation come from renewable energy sources. So all of these, by having a federal government that's so ambitious and forward-looking, it enables the private sector and the state-owned sector to really implement and help achieve that. So that's one area. The second area is on the policy front. So here, we have to talk about the Inflation Reduction Act that was created in the United States, which was, for the US, the most instrumental climate change policy that was ever implemented in the country. And what that does is it incentivizes the private sector through tax credits to invest in the supply chain domestically and to invest in R&D and innovation domestically. And it has really incentivized, for example, even GE Vernova to invest locally and to grow that, to the extent that we were talking recently at New York Climate Week about how do you export such policies to other countries around the world.
I was just going to ask, the US was huge, but then how does that come out?
Exactly translate to incentivizing other governments to do similar, to create similar policies? And then finally, you have to look at what the EU has done on a regulatory front, including mandating the private sector, creating accountability, transparency, enforcing kind of the need to report with the upcoming CSRD and other regulatory policies. So those are 3. 1, having an ambition as a government. 2, incentivizing the private sector to invest and innovate. And 3 is creating that regulatory environment. Here, what I do want to highlight, though, is, and I think it's something we've spoken about, it's the need for the government to create clarity for the private sector. For example, when you do have these regulations, ensure that they're clear enough, they allow us to respond in a timely manner, et cetera. That's 1. And 2, as you have these regulations popping up from all around the world, standardizing them or ensuring to the extent possible that there is consistency across these regulations. Because as we create our internal systems to respond to European regulations, et cetera, as countries create their own regulations, ensuring there's that consistency across the board, I think would be really helpful.
Amazing. I'm looking down at my little digital clock here, guys, and we are on the final countdown. So I'd like to just ask you now to just pull out your crystal ball, if you don't mind, and in a sentence or two, just if you can just share with the audience here what your hopes, thoughts would be on what we need, one thing to advance climate tech for a better tomorrow. Just jump in, as you will. It's just a small question there to end on.
Air to water.
Sorry?
Air to water.
Air to water. Very good. So we got
No, I mean, throughout the discussion today, it's obviously not going to be a one thing, and it's a very holistic challenge that will require many aspects. But I mean, we touched on a number of really interesting ones. I mean, between the skilling and making sure that we have a new generation that really believes in the hope of climate change challenge being addressed. But also the standardization and the policy. I think that's a very big topic that Sandra was mentioning, because without these regulations and standards, we're just driving blindly. So I think it is very essential. And then another good point that you mentioned also which is the consistency, because today these standards are completely different. So for any organization to actually try to comply, it's a massive task. So if some organization can actually bring everyone together and really standardize, and that's something I think that between the COP and the other NGOs is something that we would love to see. But yeah, I think these 2 points I would just
Amazing.
keep them as my 1 point.
Thank you. Anyone else have any? I think Ahmed just stole all the good ideas there. I mean, this is terrible. Ryan, please.
Yeah, maybe to add another angle, but is very important. As we address climate change, we shouldn't forget justice. Justice, we need it more than any other time, if I would say. And now we hear about environmental justice, social justice, so maybe that has also to be considered as we move forward.
Great, thank you. Rohan, anything to add to that?
Like you said, Ahmed, I think has said enough for all of us, but it's not much to do with, I mean, the technology is there. Everybody has spoken about it enough. And it's not just one technology, it's a multitude of technologies. The finance is there. There's enough money available nowadays to get the technology rolling. It's just the commitment that needs to come from the private sector more than the public sector. The public sector is already on that track.
Okay.
I think it's probably more of a philosophical need, but then the private sector needs to put their skin in the game and actually get moving with doing things, because the tech is there and the funds are there. So I think that's what will get us across eventually.
Amazing. Sandra, air to water?
No, I think the team, everyone covered it all. The only thing I would add, we've talked about collaboration. I think that's at the center of it all. But beyond that, I just want to end that I think it's the time, right? You have, we're at a very unique time where there is a global focus on climate change. There is a global focus on the need to decarbonize and to focus on the energy transition. But in addition to that, there is also growth in energy demand. There's growth in electricity demand. There's investment in AI and data centers. It's a unique point in time where you have these two, and it's the perfect opportunity for the public sector, the private sector, to focus, to put in that investment, to innovate, to focus on R&D, and to come together with the broader community and ecosystem to really make a difference. I don't think we're going to have a lot of opportunities, and this is the perfect time.
There's an urgency, and yeah, you're right. I think the time is now. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a hand to the panel of experts, Climate Tech. Thank you very much. Thank you.